Can you hear him, Jason?
I just got it up. Hello, ladies. Ah, Flair is definite because of AWA, NWA, WCW. Flair is definitely on there just because of the longevity. I understand what you're saying about Austin, but you could say even more about that with Cena. Austin's longevity was not there, unfortunately. Austin only had 7 years. You know, well, if you're gonna think Austin, WWE wouldn't be where they are without Austin. They sure as hell wouldn't be where they are without Cena. No, I didn't say he was on there. I didn't say he was on there. Flair's definitely on there. Uh, I think you have to put Hogan on there. I do think you have to put Hogan just for what he did, and there you go, there you go. Um, honestly, my third, just because of what he did for all the wrestlers that he worked with, would be Dusty. I think. I mean, Dusty. There's a lot of wrestlers nowadays that owe a lot to Dusty for helping him out, for helping them out. And of course, where would there be any NWA without Dusty and Flair? What would the NWA would have been without Dusty and Flair? Yeah, you had Flair, Harley Race. Yeah, you had a few others, but where would they be without Dusty? Um, wow, and a fourth. Ugh. Now Paul went back with the San Martino, and I can understand, going back to the Gorgeous George's push. Yeah. you can't take that away from him. But I mean, well, you got Dusty and Flair go back to the early '70s as well, mid or early and mid '70s. So you've got '70s, '80s, '90s, two. You've got 5 decades um, of Dusty and Flair. As Jason said, yeah, Dusty was, Booker, and he was in the back and stuff like that. But uh, all right, what are those? Well, I'll think of my fourth. I'll take my number one because he can carry anybody for any amount of time, and that's Shawn Michaels. The one of the best, maybe not the best, but one of the best on the mic. And with his size, he could carry anybody. They'd say the WrestleMania match with Undertaker was the greatest WrestleMania match of all time. Some say, some may differ. But Shawn Michaels, personally, is my number one. Shawn Michaels would be right there with what you mentioned, Paul. Yes, that's why he was better in Japan, because he didn't have to do mic skills in Japan that he had to do over here. Now I'm very surprised at you for wrestlers, for Paul. I'm very surprised. Canada's Thank you. Canada's great. Where's Bret Hart? Obviously, you never went to the dungeon and got You didn't go to the dungeon and get locked in with Stu and everybody else, I guess, did you? Terrible on the mic. That's the key there is the era because if you take you want to talk about matches, look at Flair and Steamboat matches. How great were Flair and Steamboat matches? If you put Bret Hart and there's two others with mic skills and fairly good wrestling skills, and once again, a little surprised at you, Paul. We're by Jericho. Kirk Kirk Angle? Kirk Angle? Come on, Kirk Angle. Jericho had some of the best mic skills there for a while. Now, obviously, he was gone a lot with Fozzy traveling his band, so he didn't, he was gone. But I will tell you this, and this is going to surprise the hell out of both of you. If they would have really tried to make this guy, now he was world champion and he was other stuff, but his in ring skills were very good and his mic skills were tremendous. And that's the Miz. Yeah, that was a big knock on Stone Cold with his injuries, only having a very seven, only said basically 7 years compared to everybody else's 20 plus. Yep. Well, you also like you look at the era, with NXT now. Back in 2003, basically what was NXT? OVW with Cornette. I mean, yeah, OVW was basically the NXT of nowadays, especially with that 2013 class. I mean, for the love of God, Orton, Batista, Shelton. Steve Regal. Uh, I love that story with Cornette back in the OVW with Brock, and he told Brock, he said, "Look, I'll just shoot you." He come right out and told Brock, "I'm not going to fight you. I'll just shoot you," because Brock was such an asshole back then, and he had no respect for anybody. And Cornette, Cornette, to his credit, Cornette does not back down. He does not take any shit from anybody. New Jack. That's still not the best Cornette story. The best Cornette story is that he wants to live long enough so that Russo dies and he can stand there and piss on his grave. That's it. That is hilarious. That sounds about right. 16 years ago? It was, it was Funkadelics. Funkadactyl. Funkadelic. Tyrus, Mr. Fox News. Yeah, no more of that glow, no more of that other, yeah, if you're gonna how did he get away scot free with that Page and Brad Maddox thing? I exactly. Hey, Page is pretty talented too. That would be Double J. Ruthless aggression. Snap into a Slim Jim. Oh, yeah. My joke. Mm-mm. 26. That was night he was in the crowd in street clothes, I think, right? Mr. AJ Lee. Well, that's Punk for you. Punk's one of those guys that comes out there, and whether it's scripted, he's not going to go on that. Remember, there was that. I think it was last year or something where he was in a ring with Drew McIntyre, and he was punking Vince, and he was bad mouthing Vince in the ring, and that was not scripted at all because I saw a McIntyre interview, and he actually said, I could go along and say a few things with this, but I don't think it'd be good for business. And because you never know what Punk was going to say because he did not go on script. He hated it. I mean, I like it now because the actual true heat that him and Seth have are, they legitimately, I don't know if it's the hatred more than anybody else that didn't like people, but the CM the Phil and Colby, shall we say, that is, I mean, some serious. And when Punk goes off script, because he does have that hatred, and Seth will come back, you can get some really really juicy. You can get some juicy spots there with these guys. And that's where the storylines are good nowadays compared to like what Paul said before about the older eras. You didn't have those type of storylines. You didn't have somebody talking about you and your addictions and I'm not going to go into detail about that, but you didn't have somebody like what just happened with Riddle talking about AJ Lee saying she got around. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but Riddle's made comments about AJ Lee, and I'm like, I don't know if you want to open up that can of worms with Punk now. Juicy, juicy. Oh no, no, it's a you just yeah. I mean, you just don't go there with people and their families and stuff. You want to have that thing. What was it? Orton was outside of somebody's house, or what was that? Yeah. And that's the key thing with TKO now compared to what when Vince was there. TKO is concerned with one thing, and that's the pop, the money in the pop. And if you are selling merchandise and if you're getting your name chanted, even when you're not out there, like they always do when Seth, whoever, or Drew would come out and they chant CM Punk. And then when Cult of Personality hits and the place explodes, as opposed to somebody else. Jason and I have talked many times about some of those tag team guys, Shelly and Saban, great wrestlers. They come out, it's crickets. You don't get any pop or nothing. But as long as TKO is involved with that, that's all they're concerned about is making the money and the pop that some of these particular people get. The airplane flight, for instance, the flight from hell. It's a buzzkill. It's a buzzkill. You don't want to take it. You don't want to take it like when just that long ago when Gunther and Goldberg were sparring. Goldberg's in the crowd. Then Gunter's got to go and mention something about Goldberg's kid. Well, all of a sudden Goldberg takes a jacket off, gets her in. That's going to stem something. Jason and I were actually talking not long ago, and this was really spicy. Tiffany Stratton and Charlotte Flair. I'm going to have as many titles as you've had divorces and all this and that going back. That was some juicy give and take of stuff that might be a little too personal to some people to handle. That's the truth. It was the truth. Oh, that was one of Eddie's best promos ever. That was, yep. Well, and it gives the fans. It's not the pop. It's like what you said. Oh, you mentioned Reed. Wait a minute now. It gives them that shock factor where you pan out in the crowd and they're all like this. Oh, no, yeah. You mentioned the one name earlier, which was another classic one. You said Sonny, the Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart, and Sonny and Bret and Sonny with and boy they went. Shawn really took that deep. Now maybe that was because Bret and Shawn were like this. Sonny did. Yeah, that's even before my time. What you thinking of Hall and Oates? Daryl Hall and John Oates. The Bruiser. Yeah, I came on with Becky and Nikki Bella. Horrible. Even though the names may be a little bigger, that type of match, and I'm gonna throw some names out. I'm gonna watch Paul's expression, but those are the bathroom break matches where you had the Brooklyn Brawler, you had Iron Mike Sharp, you had Pistol Pez Watley. Yeah, you had those matches which were like bathroom break matches all around the decent ones. That's what the Nikki Bella and Becky Lynch one was. It was just it was atrocious. Now that's the second pay-per-view in a row where your boy, Mr. Roman, led off the pay-per-view, which I was kind of surprised at. Pretty much. She slapped him about 15 times. You want to know another swerve that I have heard a couple of rumors about, because with the Cena heel turn and the Seth injury and even the Roman thing, they were like, well, is Roman really hurt or is no, he's doing a move. He's going to be out for a while. They had to do that. There is a substantial rumor, and this would be fairly interesting because if you go back, this person and Punk were in the back having a nice heart to heart talk. Yep. Yep. There is she because there's rumblings about if AJ because AJ's been out 10 years. There's just rumblings about whether she yeah, but I mean, she's a girl, he's a guy, Punk did, other things. No, I hear you. No sexes. She sat in the Women of Wrestling booth calling those matches, but that would be interesting if they planted that seed a while back with Rhea and Punk talking, and Rhea is going to be the one to side with Punk, to go against this fashion. But you got to admit, would you be surprised if they pulled the wool over everybody's eyes and it was Rhea and not AJ? Yeah, yeah. I do think you're right. I think it is too late. There's the fans are already chanting. The signs are out there. After the match went off, when they had a clip of Punk walking back and somebody was holding the sign and Punk pointing right to it. Yeah, skipping down the ring like that. Didn't Punk do that the other day? Didn't he skip around the ring or something? There you go. I like the idea of a little mixed tag team action because you really haven't had anything since what the Miz and Maurice and yeah, no, really. It's very ironic you mentioned Page because that same report that they talked about anybody besides AJ, Real was one, and the number two is ridiculous. Nikki Bella was number two, having her, goings on with Becky. Paige, Paige was number three. I see got dark hair, but oh, that's right. We went up and kissed her there at the end. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Paul doesn't want to go there. Why Xavier got expunged from that other stuff. Paul doesn't want to go there with that. So yeah, Maddox gone. Page, yeah, you're breaking it. You're breaking up on me. Can't hear you. He needs a little more. He needs a little more recovery time than others. Oh, they'll blow the roof off. Plus, I did hear a rumor that Cody is going to be back tomorrow night. Oh, is he still filming? Okay. Well, it would make sense, if you want to, but do you really want to upstage Punk? It was like Orton's return. When Orton came back Survivor Series, and all of a sudden you're like, yeah, Orton looking good, Jack. I mean, get right to the last 15 seconds of the pay per view, and here's Cult Personality. I was like, ooh, really? You're going to upstage Orton's return and bring Punk back? I was like, that. I don't know how well that went over, especially with Orton. But no, the storylines you mentioned the bloodline because I'm finally glad to see that they're doing something. Even going back to Bray, they didn't use Bray properly. Bray didn't get used in a way he should have. But now it looks like you're going to have the Wyatt Six feud with Solo's bloodline. That's what I heard. Or you could be like You could be like Stephanie and open her mouth and talk about the VPN, like people over in Europe who already get Netflix. Oh, really? That you can eliminate it. Imagine that. Yeah, I know. I remember talking to you, and they hadn't even had the main event on, and they were an hour and a half into the WWE pay per view or main event. Yeah, and that thing started at 3. You know what I miss? Paul, you ready? You just made the list. Uh, you and me both. Well, I said it before. It'd be cardiac arrest. If I'm sitting there and watching, and I'm watching it drawn, or I see the numbers the next day or whatever, and I see that I've matched them, be like Sid Caesar in Vegas Vacation playing the Keno with Clark Griswold with the $30,000. I won the money. I won the money. You know, oh, that's me. Paul, if I win it, if you like, I'll go bid the big RV like he said. I'll go bail Sonny out of jail, and we'll come up there and see you. That's true. Oh, she's huge. 'It's a I got it right here. It's a lightning storm. They got a bad thunderstorm with lightning there, so they took everybody off the field. 27th, I think. Hold on. 20th. Well, there should be some good stuff to talk about for tomorrow night. You know, being in Chicago, SmackDown in Chicago with Punk being there, and if it is return AG Lee, so SmackDown should be a hell of a show. Should be. Handsome him and eyeball. Yeah. Oh, look at him now with all the scars on his forehead and all that. Hey, one. I know we're. I know we're up there, but with two wrestling historians here, I just want to get a quick kind of perspective as what you guys thought after the Raja Jackson and Psycho Stu incident. What do you think about WWE cutting ties with Rikishi and his uh oh, I'm having a brain fart. What was that thing called? Yeah. No. Just cut the total ties with it. Yeah.